Good morning, church. Last time I shared about Peter, as we'd been reading 1st and 2nd Peter that week. This week we've been reading 1st, 2nd and 3rd John. So I thought I'd share a little bit about the Apostle John. I really enjoy kind of reading autobiographies or biographies of people, because I like to learn from people's lives and hear their stories. But I think the Bible holds so many amazing, powerful biographies, because we get to learn some real characters, and John's one of them, one of many who we can learn about, real men and women of faith who've lived with Jesus and lived throughout their lives following God. John is definitely one of those. He was a man who was called by Jesus early on in his ministry to follow him, became one of the 12, along with his brother James. And interestingly, John was given his nickname as one of the sons of thunder, along with his brother. And most people accept that he was called the sons of thunder because of his temperament. He had a quick temper. And we see this a couple of times in the Gospels, once where Jesus had sent some messengers to prepare a place for him in a Samaritan village, and they rejected him. They didn't want Jesus to come to the village. So John's response was, shall we go and call down fire from heaven to destroy this place? John was offended and wanted to take matters into his own hand and kind of do away with this village and these people. And Jesus rebuked him, obviously, and said, no, that's not what I want you to do. There's another time in Mark chapter 9 where people are casting out demons in Jesus' name, not the 12, some other people. And again, John took offence to this and just wanted to forbid them to do it, wanted to stop them doing it. But again, Jesus says, no, don't forbid people who are working in my name. So what we see from John, I think, early on is a man who was pretty quick-tempered, pretty zealous and passionate about the right thing, or what he thought was the right thing. But I think we do see a softening off in John's life. Obviously, he wrote the Gospel of John, so he wrote those really famous chapters, chapter 13 and onwards, the Upper Room Discourse, the time where Jesus knelt down and washed the disciples' feet and told them to do otherwise and to show love for one another. So he was a man who had seen Jesus demonstrate what true love was. Obviously, he would witness the crucifixion. And he was a man who I believe was really transformed by Jesus' love. A man who had spent these years with him, witnessed Jesus' life and actions, and ultimately his death and resurrection, and was just totally transformed by the love of Jesus, but still held on to this innate kind of passion for truth and this zeal for the right thing. And that's what I think we see in the 1st, 2nd and 3rd John. As we've read this week, we see a book that speaks so much about the love of God, but also so much about truth. He was really passionate about calling out people who were speaking false doctrine, speaking out against false prophets and false apostles. But you can't remove love from that book as well. It's a book full of love and truth. And I think this is what we learn from the Apostle John. He was a man who has a real passion for truth, but also a man who had been transformed by Jesus' love. And I think that's what we can learn from his life. That as we spend time with Jesus, we should be being transformed by his love. But that doesn't stop us from being truthful and sticking to truth and speaking truth, because John did it so wonderfully. Just a couple of verses, just showing how he'd been transformed by Jesus' love. I mean, it comes throughout the book of John, but in John 3:16, not 3 John 3:16, but 1 John 3:16. By this we know love, because he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. Chapter 4, verse 16. And we have known and believed the love that God has for us. God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. Verse 19. We love him because he first loved us. This sums up John. He'd experienced and known the love of Jesus, and that outworked in his life. And that didn't stop him speaking truth. In fact, I think it made him more passionate about truth. But it just came through in his life that he was a man of love and a man of real real perseverance and faith. He also wrote the book of Revelation that we've just studied. A man who went into his old age persecuted for Christ on the Isle of Patmos, but a man who stuck to what he believed and stuck to following Jesus. So much to learn from him. Real encouragement to me. I hope it is to you. God bless.